something that also helped me is a book called The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. And it talks about the need to be present. But what I found the most profound in that book is how he described his process of thought. He was saying that he was in a really dark place and he was having negative thoughts, but he acknowledged the fact that he was able to consciously think about the thoughts that he was having. And it helped him to see that I am not my thoughts. I am the observer of my thoughts.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Matthew Rathingsy, and you are tuned in to the Trache Talk Podcast, Episode 2. My guest today is Daniella Davina, a singer, songwriter, audio engineer, and former Army vet. And in our conversation, we talk about spirituality, meditation, and even aliens. It was such a fun conversation for me to have, and I think you're going to enjoy it and learn something as well. Daniella is super passionate about decreasing the homeless population in Oakland. And the best way you can support her is by purchasing her book on Amazon, where a portion of the proceeds is going towards her initiative to decrease and provide housing for the homeless in Oakland. Without further ado, this is Daniella Davina. Thank you again for tuning in. And remember to take care of your temple. I'm talking about your mental. All right. Thank you. All right.
Ready when you are.
All right. Well, welcome, Daniella. My podcast, I'm calling it Trache Talk because I had a tracheotomy done when I was born, pretty much.
Oh, my.
Yeah. And I thought, it'd be a cool name to use for my podcast. Very unique to myself. And
it is. And it speaks to you.
What was that?
It speaks to your experience. So yeah, it's beautiful.
Yes, exactly. But yeah, I'm thankful to have you on. I'm really appreciative. And so what I'm going to do is this won't go up like immediately. I'm trying to record like a lot of different episodes. Then I'm going to start releasing them. But yeah, just for whoever's watching and listening, how about you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
My name is Daniella Davina. I am a singer, songwriter, and audio engineer. I am based in the Bay Area, and my life's purpose is music. I am very involved in community improvement. I did some nonprofit work. I'm an Army veteran, and henceforth, all I do is music, and I make sure that the music that I make is relatable to the community and that I'm able to give back in some way.
That's awesome. I love when people, they have a platform, no matter how big or small, but they always have that heart to give back. And that right there lets me I think that alone says a lot about a person. And so, and also you're a vet. So thank you for your service.
Thank you.
But let's talk about how just current events. 2020 was just, I'm sure it was crazy for you, and just like the rest of us. How was your 2020 been? We're wrapping up here pretty soon, but how has it been for you?
I would honestly say that I've been blessed. My family's in good health. I was not affected by the financial downturn, so I can't complain. There's no room for me to complain at all, because there are many people in much worse situations.
Absolutely. No, I agree. And I'm so unfortunate that a lot of, 2020 for myself as well was very crazy and blessed in a way. I'm extremely grateful and thankful to make it through and make it, to here to talk with you.
I
But yeah,
agree.
a lot of people are going through it right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
I do. But something that I can say, I am kind of excited about the way that things have turned out in terms of 2020. Though we have this massive pandemic and so many lives lost, we've also had time to be introspective. We've gotten a lot of alone time. We've gotten a lot of time to get to know our families. And through this, we've also had the opportunity to see other people's perspective on life. So there's been a lot of revolutionary work that would not have taken place otherwise if we didn't have that opportunity to sit still and look at what's truly important and look at how our actions impact others. So although there's been massive downsides to 2020, there's also been beautiful progressive upsides. So let's not leave that out.
no, absolutely, I agree, and actually glad you're touching on that. You said how 2020 has allowed us to get, introspective about ourselves, and even just getting to know ourselves more. You know what I mean? And even the people that we live with and do life with.
Yeah,
Um, and I think it's a beautiful thing, honestly. And to touch on that note, a lot of I'm getting into spirituality. I'm very new to it. Is that something you're familiar with?
I love spirituality. I'm all for all things hippie.
Yeah, I know. I'm telling my friends, like, dang, moving out here, it's turned me into a hippie.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, I really, because I grew up Buddhist, and my family didn't really practice it, very, I guess you say, religiously. And
Okay.
then in high school, I got this girlfriend, and she took me to church, and I was part of a church for 5 to 6 years, and was on staff at that church, and a lot of, I guess you can say, my social skills was kind of birthed out of that place, and so very grateful for kind of coming out of that. But and just a long story short, I was coming out of that, just didn't have the experience that didn't have a preferred experience that I would have liked to have there.
It's
But
okay to have that experience with church.
yeah, yeah. And just to kind of harp on the spirituality point, I kind of navigated, almost kind of fell into, almost like it found me, or like we kind of found each other, kind of thing. But uh, I started to meditate more, and
Yes, patience.
yeah, there's just something about that, and I'm pretty well versed in the Bible, and I still read my Bible, but I don't think the the Bible talks much about meditation in this, in the sense of spirituality, and going within, yourself. Can you just talk about your experience, about like how, like, for you, spirituality, what does it do for you, and like
Okay.
what are some of the things that you practice, and kind of talking that stuff.
Practice- I practice meditation regularly. Um, I grew up Christian in a Christian household. I would say cult type of Christian. Church, Sunday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Bible study, all of it. Um, my family has always, in some capacity, been involved with the music program. My father was minister of music. My mother led the choir. So I was there for rehearsals, everything. If the church doors were open, we were in it. But even growing up, I would see people catch the Holy Ghost and get jumping around and falling out. And I'm like, why don't I feel it? I want to know what's making everybody else go in. And over a while, as I grew up, I got to see people as people. And I learned that some of those people were faking it. And some of those people may have had some type of true spiritual connection. But at the end of the day, that was not the path for me. I don't believe in organized religion. I believe in spirituality. I believe that we are taught through society to focus too much externally when we should be focusing internally. As you were speaking on meditation, Meditation encourages you to focus on your inner self. When you're a beginner meditator, they tell you to focus on your breathing. And they also teach you that it's not the absence of thought, but it's allowing the thoughts to flow freely. So with all of this information, it allows you to become more in tune with yourself. And the more in tune you are with yourself, the easier you can relate to the outer world. Because if your inner world is in chaos, no matter what's going on in your outer world, you'll still be experiencing a state of chaos. So that's what moved me away from the concept of organized religion. Number one, I never related. Number two, even when it comes to the Bible, there are so many things that are contradictory. We're all going to hell for wearing cotton. You know what I mean? And there's so many things that, I'm not going to pick it apart because I don't want to disrespect anyone's choice and beliefs in their belief system. But I know for me, spirituality is about a divine connection to source through self. There are many people that say they are God, like I am God. Even in Christianity, it is said that you are a reflection of God. Mm-hmm. You're made in God's image. And something else that helped me to develop my own space in spirituality is I too learned about different religions. At one point, I wanted to go to school for theology. So when it comes to Buddhism, Christianity, just all of them, at the source, at the root, it is still talking about a divine connection to some sense of source. So what we can say factually is that there is something greater spiritually than just us. Now, I'm sure if you're an atheist, then you would completely disagree. There's nothing more than what we can see and prove. Mm-hmm. But for those that do have an higher or an elevated sense of spirituality, and they move in a heart-centered space, then you can most definitely say that no matter, this is how I put it, no matter who you are worshiping, no matter how you are praying, how you are centering yourself, we all believe in energy and we all believe in source. Mm-hmm. And you can't say you don't believe in energy, because how is it possible for us to have this conversation and we're in two different places? You can't say you don't believe in frequencies, because that's how radio waves are passed. Mm. And people tend to lean towards, if it's invisible, I don't believe it. Then you shouldn't believe in anything. You shouldn't watch movies. You shouldn't talk on the phone. So kind of where I am with it.
Yeah, no, I'm totally, and just for whoever's listening, if we're breaking up, I'm sorry. It's just, we just got to deal with it. But I know I agree on kind of a lot of the things you said about organized religion, and because it gets so, and that it's so easy to beat up on a Christian religion, but again, like you said, I want to respect whoever, if that what you believe, then more power to you. And for me, it just same experience when I was part of that organized, that church. Kind of was there every second, cultish like as well. Almost just putting my life into it. Every waking moment, pouring my soul into it. And for me, I always, even before I got to Christianity, I always believed, like, man, like even when I was growing up, Buddhist, I always believed, like, as a young child, I remember going to bed and like, God, if you're real, like, whatever prayer I said, and then I just always had this belief, like, God, there is a God, or source, universe. Some people, I believe it all kind of all comes. It's all the same thing to me.
Yeah, it all works together. Who are we to say that there's only one God?
Right. And I also believe, like, a lot of things, like, we're just all connected. You know what I mean?
I agree.
I think, and tell me what you think about this. Like, I think we're all part of this one giant consciousness, and we're just all bits and pieces of it. You know what I mean?
Speaking my language. Yes, I agree. 1000%. No contest.
And so for me, I've always, and I don't know if I just heard that in like a podcast or a book that I read. I think when you just know, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there's just, you just really can't explain it. And for, oh, were you gonna say something? Sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say an interesting historical fact that somewhat proves the idea of collective consciousness is about the patent for the airplane.
Mm.
There were, I want to say, 3 different inventors on different continents, and they all submitted a patent for an airplane around the same time. I'm terrible with names, so I'm not even going to try to tell you who created it. But yeah.
So there was 3 different, I guess,
3 different
individuals,
patents were submitted.
and they're
Were you
at different parts of the
patent?
world.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, go for it. I'm sorry. I was saying like they're in different parts of the world.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's so crazy.
It came to us all at one time.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so fascinating to me. It's just, and that's why there's the old saying, nothing new under the sun. You know what I mean? Like
I agree.
it's coming from somewhere. You know what I mean? And you're not, and I want to say this carefully, but you're not that special in order to, to come up with
Right.
something out of nowhere like that. You know what I mean?
Tell me
But
we're getting ready to talk about
you,
aliens. I feel like this is just leading towards aliens.
we could go that Joe Rogan route if you want.
I love it. Let's get it as possible.
Okay, let's do it. I do want to harp on a little bit more of the spirituality stuff. But yeah, everything is connected. For me, like I discovered that like when I was working at Starbucks, and there was just kind of a weird epiphany that I had where when you work at Starbucks, you get so much clientele, different people, right? You get
Right.
you get all walks of life. Everybody that freaking loves Starbucks for some reason.
Caffeine
And
addiction.
yeah, there you go. And I realized like all these people have they're coming from different parts of, cultures, different, industries, but they all kind of rely on that caffeine, for them to power them through their day or power them
Yeah.
for the work. You got your doctors, you got your businessmen, and you got, your college students, and you got even, little kids when they get their frappuccinos or whatever. But everybody relies on that little caffeine boost. And so I thought to myself, like, man, like if I don't do my job right or whatever, like they're going to go into that environment and, say I mess up on a drink. They're going to go into that environment and they're like, oh, the barista messed up my drink. And, they're just spewing this negative energy.
You
And
start to consider your impact.
right. And so that's when I figured out like, oh, like everything's connected. You know what I mean? We have to really consider, our actions. And have you,
Mindfulness is being considerate of how the things you do impact others on a daily basis.
you said awareness? Is that what you said?
I said mindfulness.
There you go.
Yeah.
Sorry, it cut out. So, and if I do that, sorry, it's just,
I understand. It would be easier if we were able to be in the same room.
I know we will.
What we have.
Um, but yeah, that's very, very. I'm just glad I'm getting to talk to you because I'm talking to someone that we speak the same language. You know what I mean?
Indeed. Excuse me, California, baby.
Hey, but for whoever's listening, how about maybe we'll just touch on this one, move on to aliens. But can you just talk about just meditation, like because I think, and maybe you can agree with me in this, but I really believe 2020 has awakened a lot of people. You know what I
Yes.
mean? A lot of people are breaking out of that matrix, if you will. Um, but let's touch on that. Like how, for you, for meditation, how long have you been meditating? What do you do? How often do you do it? Kind of, let's talk about your meditation practice and
Okay.
how important it is and how someone could start, I guess.
Let's do it. My meditation practice is extremely simple. I wake up and I lay right in the bed. I just don't move. And I keep my eyes closed because I'm already in a comfortable position, which is what they tell you. If you're getting ready to meditate, make sure you're in a comfortable position where you can focus on your breathing, etc. So as soon as I wake up, I clear my mind and I do gratitude. I think of at least 5 things that I'm grateful for. And it's usually the same thing. I'm grateful for food. I'm grateful for shelter. I'm grateful that I have the ability to walk, talk, see, all of the things that some take as everyone can do this. Everyone can. It is truly a gift to have the essentials, to have the basics. So when I'm done doing my gratitude, then I'm able to start my day. So I would encourage anyone, don't make it difficult on yourself. Start easy. Just be still for 5 minutes in the morning and be grateful. And that can be your starting meditation. What else were you asking aside from?
Sorry,
Oh,
I know I loaded it up for you.
You did. Compact question. I just want to make sure that I'm giving it to you right. When I started, I've been meditating for about 4 or 5 years. I was actually introduced to it while I was in art school, and one of my instructors did it as an elective. And I said, hey, easy A, sit here and be quiet. Not a problem. I'm doing that in all of my classes. So I got there and we began to talk about chakras and we began to discuss energy. And I'm like, wait a minute, I'm really into this. And I believe what she's saying. And from there, it just continued. I started to look into crystals and to consider the minerals that are within the crystals, the fact that everything in existence carries some semblance of energy. We all emit some type of frequency. So when it came to crystals, it wasn't hard for me to believe when there are those that will say it's just a rock, chill out. And to those I ask, when you go to the beach and you walk with your sand in the toes, do you not feel better? And that's because you're getting the frequencies that are coming from the waves crashing against the beach, as well as the energy from the sand, the earth beneath you. Just the simple fact of connecting with your feet with the ground or with any place in nature is called earthing. People don't even know it's a thing, but it's something that creates an electrical connection or currency of some sort that grounds us to source, to the earth. You're gonna have to help me out here with the rest of it.
No, I think you answered a lot of it. I like how you said it's very simple. You have to be still. And that's really the gist of it. Be still and be with your thoughts. For me, sometimes I'll lay down, sometimes I'll sit in this chair and close my eyes, focus on my breath. But I mean, there's so much, like whoever's listening or watching, you can YouTube guided meditations and
yes, Michael Sealy, that is my guy.
Michael
Sealy, Sealy. His meditations, his guided meditations, he actually does hypnosis. So
I'm gonna write that down. Michael what?
Michael Sealy, Sealy. And he has an accent, and I'm a fan of all accents.
Yeah, accents are awesome.
So I can nerd out for a minute. I'm a fan of reading Psychology Today, and Psychology Today is a blog that states 15 minutes of meditation can reshape the way that your brain thinks. It can change your patterns. Meditation, in a way, is similar to cognitive behavioral therapy. So if you're someone who believes in therapy and believes in talk therapy and the benefits of that, take that same energy and put it into the benefits of being still, the benefits of sitting with yourself, the benefits of acknowledging your thoughts and not allowing your thoughts to control you. Something that also helped me is a book called The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. And it talks about the need to be present. But what I found the most profound in that book is how he described his process of thought. He was saying that he was in a really dark place and he was having negative thoughts, but he acknowledged the fact that he was able to consciously think about the thoughts that he was having. And it helped him to see that I am not my thoughts. I am the observer of my thoughts. what your mind is doing is taking in all of this information that surrounds us, all of these circumstances, and analyzing. You're analyzing threat, you're analyzing opportunity, but it's constantly going because that's the function of the brain, of the mind. But your spirit gets to choose these thoughts. Your spirit, your consciousness get to decide which direction you're going to move in, be it negative or be it positive. And a saying that I love to live by is that your actions directly impact your day-to-day lifestyle. If you don't like the lifestyle that you're living, if you don't like the circumstances that you're in, then somewhere in your actions, you can change one thing. If you hate your job, you may not be able to leave that job today, but you can start looking for a new one. If you hate where you live, you may have to take some time to save up to move elsewhere, but you can move. It's about making those small decisions that lead into the bigger picture of your happiness, not the bigger picture of more things or impressing more people, but the bigger picture of your happiness.
Beautiful. And I'm so, man, this is definitely a divine connection, because I've been trying to get people on here that talk about psychology and just, I know you said you do that kind of for fun, but I mean, even the fact that you brought it up, I'm just like, oh my gosh, like I love it. Because
I'm here for all the nerding out. I am here for it.
Let's do it. But yeah, I mean, for me, like I agree. Like, and I think people need to hear this though, because if you are in a bad place mentally, then meditation, you don't even got to get into spirituality. I think you could be any religion and practice meditation, because it's like you said, what it does for you, it's just like what you're going to get going to a therapist if they practice, cognitive behavior therapy or CBT. Because that's what meditation does. It helps you. Gosh, I don't even. The best way I can put it, it kind of recenters you to your true self, who you truly are, and because I think a lot of people go for it.
I said we all need a reset. At some point, you have to press that reset button.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, and so I think a lot of people are afraid of their thoughts. Some people are afraid of that. Was that?
I said it's easy to get there, especially when you consider the fact that a lot of people, we're going to go back to psychology just a little bit. So a lot of people don't realize that we consume through our eyes. When we think of consumption and consuming, we immediately think, okay, eating, mouth, that's how we consume. No. If something on that plate does not look appealing, you're not going to put it in your mouth. So all consumption begins with the eyes. So if we are watching things on television that are freaking us out, like, I don't know, the news, I'm not saying watch the news, but, if we're constantly consuming that, this is what a threat looks like. This is what a threat looks like. You know what I mean? It's easy to say or to be programmed that, oh my God, this is a threat. But we have to be mindful of the fact that everything that we visually consume, we have to then again take that step back and analyze it. What does it mean? How does it relate? Is this does it relate to one small circumstance and situation, or does it go for all circumstances and situations? So while we are consuming this great world around us, we have to center ourselves, press reset, and be mindful.
Very beautiful, very beautiful. And I agree with everything you said. Mindfulness is definitely, it's a skill that I think anybody can learn. But it starts with a choice to say, hey, like, I don't like what I'm experiencing. I need to change it. And whoever's listening or watching, you do have the power and you do have the ability to change your circumstance or situation. But very beautiful. And we can pivot to aliens now. So, have you had any encounters?
Have I had any alien encounters? Well, yes, I did. No. No, I've not. If I did, I'm not that advanced. I would faint, I would cry, I would scream, I would do all of the reactions.
Mm-hmm.
I know it would terrify me. But I had to convince my mother just the other day that aliens exist.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think, and this is how I did so, I think that we as humans have been conditioned to believe we are a superior species, when in all actuality, we are not a superior species. We are a living sentient being like other living sentient beings. And I guess this is the part where I start advertising that I'm vegan. So with that frame of thought, we also need to acknowledge that our planet is not the only planet in the galaxy. It would be far-fetched to believe that our planet is the only planet that has some type of life form. Maybe there is some type of living organism that is able to survive the environment on these other planets. I further went to explaining, think about this. We have plant life, human life, animal life. Bats live in caves, so there's definitely cave life, and we have sea life.
Mm-hmm.
The ocean is so deep. How are we to know what's at the very bottom of the ocean? The caves run so deep, and there are caves that have not been opened for centuries. There are caves that just go straight down to who knows what, the Earth's core.
Mm-hmm.
Who are we to say that there aren't things living there? And if you want to go for some conspiracy theories, shall we call them? MJ12. Have you seen the documentaries about it?
Is it Michael Jackson?
Oh, no. It's I love where you're going with it. But no, MJ12 is a declassified CIA document or program. And I think I'm saying it correctly. I could be wrong, but I think I'm right. So when I presented that, I was saying, okay, MJ12 is this declassified document, blah, blah, blah. And at first, the mindset is that's far-fetched. We want to talk about aliens. So I'm going to walk you back. Do we all believe in Area 51? We know that this is something that exists, right? Yes or no?
Oh, yes. Sorry.
Okay.
I'm letting you talk because the pause sometimes, like, you know what I mean?
No problem. So factually say that Area 51 is a military base in Nevada, outside of Las Vegas. The US government has told us things as major as the fact that they created a nuclear bomb that was capable of destroying all human life, right? What could they be hiding from the American people that is scarier or that is bigger than the fact that they have created a bomb capable of destroying all human life? What do you need to keep secret after that? That's a very large scale thing when you start to ask yourself the question of what's there that they need to hide. We'll go back even further. There was a program called COINTELPRO. Have you heard of this program?
I have not.
COINTELPRO was a CIA program that was involved with the death of Black Panthers, some of the Black Panthers, the death of Martin Luther King, the death of a number of the civil rights leaders. And it didn't stop at controlling the civil rights leaders. It was also intended to control international activism to keep the people from rising back in the 70s. We now know this program to have factually existed. It is historic record. There was also the era during the Reagan era when drugs were pumped into the Black community. This is about LA now. We're talking things that happened in California. So you should definitely know a little bit about that. But Ronald Reagan was in cahoots with an organization in Colombia that was, distributing drugs. And he literally sanctioned the delivery of drugs into the Black community. Now, this sounds far-fetched for the time, and people would say, oh, no, it's no way that the government would provide drugs to their own citizens citizens, but yes, they did. And now this is something that is historically proven. So when you go from looking at this documentary that's true to looking at that documentary that's true, and then you start talking about MK Ultra. Do you know about MK Ultra?
Very loosely. A lot of the things you're talking about, I'd have, very loose knowledge about it. Just kind of stuff that I didn't really dive too deeply into, but I've heard of a lot of different things that you've been talking about.
Okay. Well, MK Ultra gets even further into discussing drugs and the experimental use in the way that the government used it to experiment on the minds of the public. There were acid parties in the 70s. There's a documentary that I shared with a number of people, and it's called Drugs as Weapons Against Us. And that talks completely about the history of MK Ultra. So if you can look at these 3 separate declassified documents and know now that they were historically true, when someone presents another declassified document, it would be stupid to ignore the fact that it could be true, to close your mind off to it, to say that's just too much. I don't believe it's true. It sounds too sci-fi. It sounds too this and sounds too that. So that's where I am with aliens.
And so so I'm just trying to process a lot. So a lot of that, so what is the relation to aliens there? So I know, like you're saying, like there's a lot of things that the government does, or even elites that they do to, they keep out of the public knowledge and out of public eyes. I'm a big believer in that. Like there's, mass media is definitely so, I believe it's so corrupt.
It is. Mass media is corrupt. It's controlled by a very small population of people. So they have full influence over how we think because they paint the narrative.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And if they're doing that, then there's obviously, and I think there's been stuff that's been released too about, I don't know if you saw that. I don't know who posted. I think it was the New York Post that posted that aliens are real, and they're saying like humans just aren't ready for it yet.
Yes,
Did you see that?
I did.
And
I heard
so,
about it, believe it, because
you heard about it, but you don't believe it. You said?
no, I said I do. I truly believe it,
Mm-hmm.
because we have to ask ourselves, how did we go from no technology whatsoever to everything we have now?
Yes.
Like, where did that first microchip, where did the supplies for the first microchip come from? If nobody knows where was step 1, it's almost like asking what's the beginning of human existence. We don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And someone's going to say, well, it's all started with a kite and a lightning bulb. Okay, go with that.
Right,
but
right. Sorry, were you going to continue?
Me being a complete history nerd and very much into documentaries.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree with that. So, because you look back, even as 100 years ago, it was so different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So different. And to see where we're at now, that's very expedited.
It is.
It's like there has to be some correlation to being connected to, other life forms that have given us the capability to, produce some of the things we've been able to produce. I even think there's some aliens, and this is just kind of speculating and just kind of throwing it out there, but this is just kind of me speculating. Like, I believe there's some aliens that are taken on like a human form, and they just kind of live amongst us. You know what I mean? And
I doubt that. I'm so open-minded. I would not say that it's not. I wouldn't say it's impossible, because
right.
the thing one once thought was impossible has been proven to be possible.
Absolutely.
If you told someone in 1800 that we would have this conversation from 2 different cities, they'd go, oh, please. You mean people are going to talk to each other and they're not even in the same room?
Mm.
Oh, that's impossible. People are going to talk to each other. They're not in the same home.
Yeah. Yeah. It's beyond the human comprehension until it's possible. You know what I mean? But there was something I was going to say along the lines of alien still. Oh yeah. Yeah, there's definitely, I believe it was the Roswell crash. Even on the recent Joe Rogan, they were kind of talking about how, even out of that, they would be able to reverse engineer some of the alien technology. And that's how we were able to get some of the stuff we have today. And so, and who knows, they probably still have a lot of different stuff that we have not seen yet.
And back to what I was saying about Area 51. That's where these technological advances are coming from. And I also think that a lot of our technological advances, while we think they're things that exist to better our communication and better our society, we can also look at them as ways of our government, or, I'm just not going to act like I'm not anti-government. We can look at it as ways of our government, decreasing our privacy. It's great that we can communicate in this way. It's great that we can see each other via video. But do you truly think that no one's recording these videos, or, no one's able to intercept them in some way? You know how many times Apple has been sued for a television that has a camera that's constantly on? Who found out the fact that these cameras are constantly on and leaked it? You know what I mean? No one ever connected those two dots, because it's not the average consumer. Those things are being leaked from people that are inside of these companies. So something is always happening that we have no knowledge of. We are just excited to have the newest thing, which brings us all the way back to spirituality and the need to be centered and not be so excited and enthused over things. Because the more things you get, the more trouble you are inviting.
Right.
More money we come across, the more problems we see.
Hey, ooh, I love it.
Go back on them.
I love it, man. It's so true though. Like, it's crazy that you say that, because like, to think that we think that it's just us talking right now, no one else is watching, and if you are, hello. And so it's just funny to me. Like, it's just like people, like, we don't think about those things. You know what I mean? Like, and a lot of people can look and say like, oh, like, you guys are so conspiracist and there's no possible way. And I like to err on the side of what if, okay, like,
that is a powerful,
you know what I mean? So say it again.
That's a powerful question. What if? And my grandmother likes to say, why not? Instead of, she told me, if anybody ever asks you why you want to do something, just ask them, why not? Why do you want to sing? Why not? Why do you love to dance? Why not? Why do you want to save the world? And, why do you always want to do something involved with community? Why do you always have to bring it here and take it to aliens? Why not?
Right. And it's funny because people, I think I'm not saying people, because I'm guilty myself. We like to be so married to our beliefs and our ideas of what we believe to be reality, or what we believe to be real, when before any of us were here on this before we were in lives. I'm 25, and so there was life that happened before me, you know what I mean?
Yes.
And before my parents, you know what I mean? And so on and so forth. And so there's a lot of things that we're not completely, aware of. And so I think we have to be open-minded to the possibility of things that seem far-fetched, but we have to be open-minded to those things. You know what I mean?
I completely understand. Once you close yourself off from information, then you are essentially deciding not to grow. Our life is a learning experience. It doesn't matter if you're 90 or 19, you still have room to learn and to grow. So the reason that we identify ourselves so heavily with our beliefs is because in some way, we've decided that this is who I am. This defines me. There is no one thing that defines me. When it comes back to talking about meditation and spirituality, you also have to talk about the act of non-attachment. We can't be attached to our things in the same way we can't be attached to our thoughts. We are pure consciousness flowing through this universal experience, and we may be experiencing these things through different perspectives and learning and growing from different aspects. But at the end of the day, we are still in this shared consciousness, and we are not solely defined by our thoughts that are meant to evolve. We are not solely defined by the amount of money we have, which comes and goes. We are not solely defined by our social status or, numbers on social media. None of these things should impact one's vision of oneself. It should not define you. There could be 0 people watching this. I'm still going to have this conversation with you, and I'm enjoying the hell out of it.
Likewise. I agree. I think we've been programmed, or a lot of us have been programmed, and I fell victim to it as well, because being a millennial, you're kind of born into kind of the technological boom. And so you kind of, we weren't taught how to use technology, really. We just kind of go into it and just kind of let it consume us, and then, because I like to look at my life as a great example of what can happen if you allow the media, or just the technology that we have to be you, if that makes sense. So like for me, for example, grew up in the age of MySpace, and kind of when social media was kind of, popping off. And so you start to identify yourself with what you see on social media, and you're allowing you're allowing people online, or just whatever is being propagated or promoted, to define you. You know what I mean? And then you get stuck in this kind of this, and maybe, I don't know if this is the right context to use this word, but in kind of this echo chamber of this is who I am. And when you don't align to, when it doesn't start to align to what you see on social media, you start to
have internal struggle.
Very exactly. And so, and I think it takes that to get to the, for me, just, I can't speak for everybody, but for me, that's what got me to the spirituality path, and, being connected with nature and the earth. And so, and I have this crazy thought, and I want to see what you think. So we live in this big universe, right?
Right.
And with who knows how many galaxies out there, we can only guess at how much, what I mean? I believe, and this is not I believe, but this is just kind of a far-fetched thought I have. What if other galaxies are just different levels of consciousness that we ascend to, when we leave this life here on Earth? So, like, for example, aliens, if they wanted to destroy the Earth, they would have by now. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And so for me, I think this is going to sound really far-fetched, but what if aliens are just different? And I don't want to say humans, but they're just different souls in a different form. You know what I mean? But from galaxies far, far away. You know what I mean? Like, what if that's our next level of, what if when we pass, we just go from this human body into like an alien body? You know what I mean? It sounds crazy, but
I see where you're going with it.
What do you think about that?
You can't call anything far-fetched, because at the end of the day, no matter how radical an idea sounds, we can't disprove it.
That's true.
So I may have a hard time accepting whatever your view of ascension is, whatever your view of reincarnation is, whatever your view of what happens after we leave our physical bodies. But what I can't do is tell you that you're wrong. because there's no way of knowing.
Right.
I think that it would be cool if that were what happens. Because like you were saying earlier, it's said that life form.
Uh-oh.
Oh, excuse me. Sorry about that. I had an incoming call. It said that alien life form exists and is not ready to make contact with us because we've not yet evolved.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also said that the reason that they even would talk to us is to explain the fabrics of the universe, the universe and how we are all intertwined. So I like to think about it on a smaller scale of just here on Earth. Humans exhale carbon dioxide. Plants need carbon dioxide in order to grow. Plants feed everything, human life, all sentient beings, be it animal life or human life. We all eat the vegetation. So we are giving and we are receiving at the same time. Mm-hmm. We're all needed to make this earth survive. Mm-hmm. Now, what if we take that and make it grand scale? What if our position in the stars is what keeps this other planet in position in the stars, which is, what I believe scientists have said. We are all in this gravitational pull between one planet to the other. So how can we imagine, or why would we imagine that what happens on Earth doesn't affect what happens on Mars? And if there are aliens on Mars and Earth is, can I cuss?
Yeah, go for it.
And Earth is fucking up. So if there are aliens, of course they're going to come make contact like, yo, y'all need to get it together because you are messing up the planetary alignment at this point.
Like y'all fucking up.
Exactly. If there were any reason for aliens to come visit Earth, I'm sure there's not many resources we have to offer an advanced civilization. Mm-hmm. But definitely we need to make sure that we are aligned so that we don't mess up the universal alignment.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, we probably have nothing to offer them that's of value.
Yeah,
they're probably just
in comparison to what else exists. Mm-hmm. Even in that documentary I was telling you about. Oh wait, I didn't give you the name of it, but there's a documentary I watched pertaining to aliens, and it's called Above Majestic. Mm. In this documentary, they talk about the government having advanced technology that they have not released to the public. And it asks us to think about the fact that we went from no cars, right, to having cars over a quick minute. Mm-hmm. And then for the next 100 years, there were no more advancements in cars. Mm-hmm. And they were saying, why is that? That seems to be by design. Mm-hmm. We could have flying cars at this point. We have cars that are self-driving. So it's said that the government has access to advanced technology. They have not yet released it. Mm-hmm. And some of that technology includes the possibility of time travel. Mm-hmm. I know that sounds like, willy foo-foo. Mm-hmm. This lady's lost it. She's talking about time travel as it's actually possible. But there's that question. Who are you to say it's not? How can we prove?
We can't. I mean, you even look at time, like what is time? Time is a
man-made concept.
Exactly. It is, because we just close our eyes and we wake up and we think time has passed, but really it's still just the present moment.
Living one very long day.
Yep.
So yeah.
Yeah. Go for it. Sorry.
I'm open-minded if you don't think about aliens every now and then.
Say that again.
I said you're not open-minded if you don't even think about aliens every now and then.
Right. It's, I'm looking forward to the day. I don't know how I would react to ever seeing one, but.
Oh yeah, that's not something that I want for my lifetime. Save that for Gen Z. Like y'all can have it. Talk to all the aliens you need to, honey.
Yeah. I think I'm on the opposite side. Like I kind of want to, I want to talk to them. I want to see all right, what can you guys teach me? Kind of thing. I want to have one on my podcast.
I mean, I don't think it would hurt to have an intergalactic friend.
Right,
Somebody
right.
that's me in the club, homie. No,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I was terrified if one just walked into a room and was like, "Hi, I'm from Pluto. Yeah, y'all thought we were gone. Are we here?"
Hmm.
No, that,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It'd be very interesting. I think I would freak out too, but it'd be like, okay, wait, wow, you guys are real. Okay, well, I got questions for you guys.
right. If someone, and then think about it like this. You know how you said earlier, you believe that it's possible. There is an alien presence that appears, right?
Hmm.
I'm sorry about my loved ones continue to call, though I have rejected their calls at least
All good,
twice.
all
I'll
good.
explain myself to them later. But you were saying that you believe that it's possible for alien life to appear humanoid. If a person came to you right now and said, "Yeah, man, I'm really from Mars," like, no, no, seriously, I'm from Mars. I wasn't born here. You'd be like, "Yo, they need some medication.
Hmm.
They've lost it." Because we say we're open to this idea, but
Hmm.
if it actually happened, we wouldn't be open to such a conversation.
That's true.
We would really think like, my man's has lost his mind. So
Yeah, yeah. Very true. Very true. I think I think time will tell. I think eventually we're gonna, see what happens. But it's so fun to speculate and have these conversations.
yes, it is.
And that whole time travel thing, I think, man, like that's to me that's exciting, and it's like, okay, like I want to know more about that. But
There was a point that we touched on earlier, a very well known saying, "There's nothing new under the sun." So when I hear that, and I come from the space of an artist, someone who creates, I know that all of my creation stems from some sort of inspiration.
mhm,
I think back to artists that I love, India Ari, Erica Badu, the style of music that they create, the messages that they relay. And I go, okay, well, I like this, but I also like some of the new vibes.
mhm,
And I'll start to pull from those, new artists, and I create whatever this sound is that I feel like is me. So think about the movies that we have. How do we have movies about time travel? How do we have movies about
mm,
alien presence? How do we have movies about even the futuristic lifestyle? Like, my favorite movie to reference in terms of spirituality and thought is The Matrix.
yep.
All of those concepts, all of those ideas have to stem from somewhere,
Mhm,
especially if we're saying that we live in a state of a collective consciousness. So, where did the first thought of an alien come from, if not from having seen an alien? Where did the first thought of a spaceship come from, if not having seen a spaceship? Where
mhm,
did the first idea of time travel come from, if not having met someone who had the experience?
mhm.
So
Yeah.
we have, when in being open-minded, we have to ask the right questions.
Mhm,
We have to tailor our perspective to really don't doubt the first thing that, you know what I'm saying? Don't let doubt be the first thing that comes to mind.
mhm.
Let possibility be the first thing that comes to mind.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of goes along with what you're saying. Like, if thoughts are things, and I've heard. I think it's in Think and Grow Rich, but things are created twice, first in thought, and then physical form. And so,
Yep, that's
but
grow
even the
rich.
thought of something makes it real. You know what I mean?
You're
But
right.
I want to. This is such a fun conversation, and I want to pivot now to your
Let's
upcoming
do it.
project. Um, let's talk about your upcoming project, and well, let's talk about your music. And like, I know you said you draw inspiration from Erica Badu, and where else do you get inspiration from? Or like, how did Let's talk about your creative process.
My creative process, I get bored a lot. I just sit down and I start playing with things. Like, I have never been trained on piano. I just play what feels right until something sounds good.
Mm.
And once it starts to sound good, then I hurry up and patch it in so I can record it.
Mm-hmm.
I played drums ever since I was about 11. So I'm pretty good with rhythm. So that's how I end up getting into an instrumental. Once my instrumentals are done, usually in the middle of making a tune, I'll start humming along with it. And then I'm like, oh shit, I like that. And then I start putting words to it. Like some things I'll write and it'll have a vibe that makes me want to talk shit. And then other things I'll write and it'll make me want to spread knowledge.
Mm.
So everything is purely created through the mood, whatever mood I'm in. I don't have one specific genre that I best fit.
You have your own unique sound.
I think that for the most part, if I'm asked to describe myself, I say that I do soul music, R&B, soul, chill, vibes. That's it.
And honestly, you feel that. Like when I was listening to, and I was just listening to the 5, your 5 top tracks or whatever on Spotify. Okay. And I was like, you feel it. Like, honestly, it gives off that vibration of just the highest vibration, honestly. Like, it's just like, I'm just like, yeah, this is, I like it. You know what I mean? So, yeah, no, your music is, if you have an upcoming project though, right?
Yes. My upcoming project, I haven't even titled it yet because I'm in the space of what's more important is the purpose of my project. And it's not necessarily, the music is important, definitely, because I want the listener to enjoy it. But the reason that I'm doing the project is because homelessness has risen 47% over the past 2 years in my city, Oakland, California. And
how much?
Excuse me?
How much has it risen?
47%.
Wow.
It has doubled in 2 years. That is unheard of. It's ridiculous. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And when I walk down the street, just not even 6 months ago, my street had 2 lanes, but the city has updated the street to make it 1 lane in each direction. So you have the money to redo our streets, but the most that you have done for our homeless population is provide them with porta potties. That's infuriating for anyone that truly has a passion or respect for it. And I can say that, living in the Bay Area, prices are constantly increasing. There's not much affordable housing. There's even less transitional housing. We're constantly asking for our elected officials to do something pertaining to the issue. They are running on the platform of, hey, we're going to address homelessness. But they get into these seats, be it city council or even mayor, and they do nothing. Like we've had the same mayor, Mayor Libby, for 2 terms.
8 years, right? Or
yeah. Well, she's going into her 2nd term, I believe.
Oh.
But during the course of her first term, that's when homelessness started to rise. And we have a city budget of over $3 billion. I was so passionate. I am so passionate about it that I started to looking into running for city council. But then I had to be realistic with myself and say that that's not the best way that I could contribute. But what I do love and what I am good at is music. So if I take my true gift and what I know that I can do, and I use that to generate the funds, then I can partner with these nonprofits and I can partner with people that are active in the community and completely bypass the city, completely bypass begging our elected officials to do something and get it done my damn self. That's just how I see it, because it must be done. And the only way for us to affect change in our community at this point is for us to be actively involved in said change. So the project that I'm creating, 50% of the proceeds is going directly into funding a project to provide housing for the homeless. I've already looked into spaces, and if I can't get spaces, then I've also looked into a lot for new construct. My idea is to purchase this old hotel and to either donate the hotel or donate the hotel to one of the organizations in Oakland that already deals with transitional housing, or to independently staff it myself. Now, when I say myself, I don't mean just me being one person running around trying to do everything. I mean, I will make sure that the funds get there. I will make sure that the proper people are hired, so forth and so on. Because, community involvement is what gets it done. Regular people start nonprofits every day.
Right.
So yes, I have a large goal, but it is not impossible, because all of these do-gooders are getting things done. If I can't rent, or if I can't purchase this hotel and have it staffed, then another idea that I have is to purchase a plot of land and build out using container homes, because container homes can be, put together much quicker than the regular brick and mortar homes. So I'm looking at, if I want to give it a quantitative goal, I would like to decrease homelessness by 5% over a span of 5 years. So that's just 1%. And that's where I'm at with it.
Yeah.
Donating, doing my work, selling my work, donating to my cause, to our cause, to the community cause.
That's beautiful. And I really commend you for that, because like I said, a lot of people who are, creative artists, they have a lot of influence, you know what I mean? And a lot of, and I don't know how the music industry works, and I don't know how, if artists really get, kind of all their money from the work that they do. But
no, not if you're with a major label.
Say that again.
Not if you're with a major label. You get a percentage, and it's usually a fairly small percentage.
So the route would be just going independent, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna go in it, because then I can say where everything goes. You know what I mean?
So a lot of artists who are, just kind of the most known ones, they don't really, would you say, like, they don't really make a lot then?
Yeah, they make a lot. They make millions. But their work, the artist may make millions, but their work makes billions.
Oh, okay.
So you are taking whoever your favorite rapper is, whoever your favorite singer is, and you know that they make $1 million an album. Or, yeah, they make $1 million an album, but their label has made $10 million and cut them 1% of that, or 10% of that.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that sucks. And that's horrible. That's just plain put, like, that's horrible.
As you go further down the list, it just, continues to be chopped off.
Yeah.
So, and you also have to consider the lifestyle that some celebrities have to live for their own safety. They can't live on the same street as some people, because,
People are crazy.
They become a target for being stalked, for being anything. So they have to live in these isolated areas, or in these high dollar areas. So if your song makes $1 million, but your rent, or, your mortgage is, say, $250,000 a year. I don't know. It's ridiculous numbers.
Right.
But the amount of money that they're making doesn't always allow them to give in a major way. They can give a way that seems major to us, because the average person isn't able to go out and buy 500 turkeys and hand them out on Thanksgiving, which I'm not advertising because I'm vegan. But you understand what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, no, it makes sense. I mean,
they can only do so much, and they can also only do so much because sometimes their contract will hinder them from saying what they truly think about politics, or it will hinder them from getting active in a way, or getting aggressive, or getting angry, or just truly expressing any type of emotion in terms of how our society is run.
Yeah.
So when they're doing what they have to do for their personal survival,
they're doing the best they can, pretty much.
And I mean, there are people that I would still say can do more, but they're, like you said, doing the best they can.
Yeah, with the knowledge they have and what they know.
Like me, nobody's going to tell me that I can't give back to the community. Nobody's going to tell me that I shouldn't talk shit about the mayor. They say that I shouldn't, but they can't stop me from doing it.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, you'll walk up and down Telegraph. You'll go from seeing luxury condos that were newly built this year to seeing under every bridge, and this is not an over exaggeration, under every bridge, there's a homeless camp. Off of every interstate, homeless camp. If you go to Lake Merritt right now and you're at the top of the lake, you look across the street on the tennis courts, you're going to see a homeless camp. You go even further up, you'll see an open lot with a large homeless camp right across the street from 9 Rounds. Y'all know what I'm talking about if you're from Oakland. So what are we going to do about this? Are we going to sit around and go, eventually city council's going to handle it? Eventually, they're going to do something. We've been eventually waiting for them for about 4 years now. And constantly homelessness is rising because when I say over the span of 2 years, you have to consider this is even before the pandemic. It had already begun to rise 47% before we were hit with a global pandemic. So you add that on, we have to be up to at least 55% increase in homelessness.
Yeah, it's definitely, every time I drive through there when I'm delivering, my cannabis, it's, I see that. And it's just like, and I was never familiar with Oakland beforehand. So I've like, like I said, I'm new to the area. So to me, I'm thinking like, oh, is this really how it is? Or is this how it's always been? And, what I love about Oakland is so much culture and so much, you could tell when you go there, it's a lot of, I don't even know how to put it into words, but there's a lot of character there. You know what I mean? It has a life of its own. And it almost,
it's nothing like the Bay Area, but it's definitely, and this isn't me trying to shit on anybody else's city or town. It's nothing like Oakland. Like, it's so many different elements. And somehow we all come together. That our weird neighbors, Berkeley, and we all party together. So
yeah, it's a beautiful city. And it's just very tragic that it has gotten to that point, literally like almost, I can't think of a time where I went through Oakland and I didn't see like homeless camps, you know what I mean?
You won't.
Yeah.
I'm legit going to go online and I'm going to just throw out the question. Anyone that lives in Oakland, comment, how many homeless camps do you pass from your house on the way to the grocery store? And that's deep. The fact that definitely, whether you live up in the Oakland Hills, whether you live in the east, the west, or north, no matter where you go, you leave your house to go to the grocery store, you will see a tent. Right. And those people deserve a house. They and even if I'm not going to say that, hey, everybody should just give everybody a house, because that would be first on the list. Definitely. Can I get a house, please? But what I am saying is they deserve a roof. They deserve assistance. They deserve, we're in a pandemic and a lot of these people have not had someone come by and offer them masks. Yeah. And imagine what it feels like for people to treat you as if you're invisible. To be in a space of truly needing help, needing something. And people just don't make eye contact with you. They act like they don't see you. Come on.
Yeah. No, it's.
And then you can't ignore it because it's on every underpass, every bridge.
You know what? I don't know if I read this book. Well, not read, but listened, audiobook. It's called Zero Limits by Joe Vitale. And it talks about, have you heard of it?
I haven't, but it's something that I'm going to look into.
It's very, it basically talks about how, in kind of what we talked about earlier, we're responsible for the external world, Yeah. We're responsible for COVID. It's crazy as that sounds, like each of us have a part to play in that.
I love talking shit when it comes to discussing how COVID started, because as a vegan, I'm like, if bro would have never eaten that wild bat We all would be outside at a day party right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And
I
what a
blame
good,
animals, but I'll allow everyone else to blame whatever they wish.
right. And no, and it kind of goes like we're saying, like homelessness as well. Like I think we all have a part to play in that. You know what I mean?
We do.
And as sobering as that sounds, it's like, wow, like, yeah, you know what I mean? Like we do. And so I think we, as much as we all have a part, we all can have a part to the solution as well. And so I really love what you're doing, and I'm so for that. And, you know, would love to get involved in any way I can. Um, and I was going to say, to harp on homelessness, you know, we can talk about how terrible it is and how much, how, you know, disheartening it is to see. Um, but I think it started from somewhere, you know what I mean?
It did.
To you, because I like to get to the root of why.
Capitalism.
What was that?
Capitalism.
Capitalism.
Patriarchy. Don't have me pointing fingers.
No, but I think it needs to be talked about. Like, why is that? Like,
Okay.
why homelessness? Like,
Balls to the wall. Am I going to be honest with you? Are you ready?
go for it. Like, this is
Your
what we're
question
here
you
for.
don't answer to. Okay, let's do this. Bay Area edition. The reason that we are dealing with homelessness is due to gentrification. In addition to gentrification, there was a large company, we all know and love it as Google, that moved to San Francisco a few years back. Once they opened up the Google complex, the people in San Francisco started to take advantage of, you know, these tech industry moguls that are moving into the area. So they start hiking up the price of rent. And guess who couldn't afford to stay there? The people that were born and raised there. So where do they go? They take to the streets. They get pushed all the way out to Stockton. They get pushed all the way out to Vallejo. And then when those people fill up all of the homes in San Francisco, they're like, Oakland is just a short ride over the bridge. I think I'll go live in Oakland. It's so quiet here. It's so peaceful. We love this. We love that. Great. Now, once again, Oakland housing prices, pew, bang, zoom straight to the moon. Now we have those people that are the third, fourth generation of children born in Oakland being forced out of a home that has been in their family for so many years. Where are these people expected to go? Some of these people don't have the money to move to another state. They don't have the money to move to another city. They can't go somewhere that would be more cost efficient for them. So they have to go live on the street. That's why you have people that are living in, you know, vans and buses and, you know, even tents in their car. And they still have to get up and go to work. Let that sink in. You have the Bay Area is so expensive. Housing is so expensive for some people that they take their asses to work and still have to live in a car.
Wow.
No, that's not okay. And our elected officials are not, you know, creating a space for the residents. Why is that, you ask? Oh, let me go deeper. That's because, and this is something that I cannot say factually because I don't have the evidence to back it up. But I do believe that once we get these new luxury condos and we have these prices rising, these contracts and these, you know, the build out is somehow associated with money for the city. So the city is choosing to do what makes them money as opposed to what the citizen needs. And that's not fair to us. And if you want to take it back to spirituality, pew, 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 we can take it all the way back there and realize that if we all did our job, whatever our job is, from a heart-centered space and from a compassionate space, and realizing that everyone has the basic need of food, water, shelter. I'll even kick it up and say transportation. If we came from that space of thinking, then we would realize that we would prioritize differently. Our elected officials would be in their positions prioritizing differently. They would say, hey, homelessness has gotten outrageous. We need to make sure we get, and then not only has it risen here 47%, but we are above the national average. We are at least between 3 and 5% higher than all of America's average on homelessness. That's ridiculous. Do you know how small Oakland is as a city?
Yeah.
We're such a small city. How do we have such a high homelessness rate? It does not compute.
Mm-hmm.
So that is passionate hair flip.
No, thank you for explaining that, because, myself being somebody, like very ignorant to like a lot of, I'll be honest, like a lot of things, I think a lot of people are afraid to admit they don't know things, you know what I mean? And so, but I'm glad, thank you for explaining it, because if anything, it starts with just the awareness, you know what I mean? And so, now that the information is out there, it's gonna, hopefully allow people to move and think differently, you know what I mean? And be more mindful of how they do things or what they do. And so thank you for explaining that, by the way. It's very sobering, and then, go for it.
Just to add to that, there are a lot of people that don't even consciously realize that they're not doing as great as they think they're doing financially. And I'm going to stick just to numbers for Oakland. In Oakland, if you do not make $76,000 a year, that $76,000 a year is the average income, household income, as of 2018. So if you make even $50,000 a year, your household is considered a low income household because you're beneath 80% of the average household income. So you can be living here making $50,000, but it doesn't stretch the same when the cost of living is inflated. As a compensated veteran, not to put my business out there, but with residual income, I still do not exceed $76,000. I don't even meet. I'm not throwing a rock at $76,000 a year.
Yeah.
So that's average household income.
Yeah.
There's so many people, like low key, if you live in California, there's a chance that you're broke and you don't know that you're broke. You're just so used to hustling to make something happen that you're like, we're going to grind until we can't grind no more. That's why people from California will go someplace like to the South. Like my favorite place is Atlanta. I love it because money that doesn't spend well or doesn't stretch here, you go to Atlanta, you can live life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially if you take that same hustle that you have to survive California. That's also why they say people from New York can make it anywhere, because New York stands if nobody else does. If you have the hustle, but it shouldn't be that hard.
No, I agree.
That's all we're talking about. We're not talking about buying extra things. We're talking about paying rent. We're talking about having transportation. I don't care if it's a bus pass or a bike. We're talking about some form of transportation. You feel me? And if the city's not gonna up our minimum wage, there are things that tangible things that we can ask for, an increase in minimum wage. Yeah, they'll increase it to $12.50, but what we need is something more like $15.50, $20 in order to survive the current cost. The national minimum wage is still only $7.50. It has not been increased in I don't know how many years.
Yeah.
So, and these are things that are Googleable. So that's where I am with it. And the reason that I am so passionate about it is because, like I said, I'm a veteran. I've gone through my own struggles. And just knowing that I can still pay my bills, I can never reach that $76,000. I still have to even have a side hustle. I still have to do whatever I got to do to increase my income, just like everybody else.
Right. If you live in California, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I completely agree with everything you're saying. California has definitely gotten out of hand. You know what I mean? And that's why you got a lot of people moving out. I just had a friend, a lot of, he's kind of the reason why I'm out here, but he moved out of California to Texas,
Okay.
A
Yeah,
lot
Texas is a good spot. If you're going to evacuate, definitely go to Texas. Texas because they don't pay taxes. Texas, Vegas.
Texas or Vegas, you said?
Yeah.
That's why the Raiders went to Vegas, huh?
Yeah. A lot of people will go to Vegas. And who doesn't want to live somewhere where you don't have to pay taxes?
Yeah. No, I definitely want to get the opportunity to do that. And, but I still think I got work here to do. But Daniella, this has been such a fun conversation, and I do want to wrap up very soon. And, first of all, just thank you for just, what you brought to this episode. I think it's going to help a lot of people and open their minds, kind of what I'm hoping to do with this. But I'd like to bookend all my podcast with a series of questions, or just maybe a couple. Right now it'll just be two, but I kind of want to, and it'll change from season to season, but
Okay.
I do want to ask, the first one is, what meaning do you give life? I know
What
it's
meaning do I give life?
like if you, if you were to go today, God forbid, but if you had to tell somebody, hey, this is what life is, what would you say?
It's a learning experience. It's an opportunity each day to, I like to say, die and live again.
Mm,
So,
beautiful. Learning opportunity to die and live again. I love that. Love that.
like each day we are reborn. We have new opportunities. We have new, you can even have a new mind frame from one day to the next.
Mm-hmm.
Something you learn today might change a decision you make tomorrow.
Mm.
And if it continues on that way, then throughout the process of life, you'll be a different person at the end of life, definitely, than whomever you may have been at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like in the beginning of our lives, we are who we are taught to be. You practice the type of spirituality you are taught to practice. You believe the things you are told to believe because you know no different. And then we reach an age of our own personal great awakening. And then we begin to learn things on our own. And each day after that, we are continuously reborn. So hopefully at the end of my days, I'll leave as my greatest version, and I will have learned as much as I can possibly learn.
Very beautiful. Very beautiful. I think that's a good way to put a bow tie on it. Before we wrap up officially, go ahead and tell people how they can get involved with that project you're working on. Maybe let people know where they can find you and even what you can offer them.
Okay. You can find me at Daniella, DANIELLA Davina, DAVINA, on all social media platforms. I will be updating the status of my project through those social media platforms. And right now I'm still in the creation phase, and I'm promoting and letting people know that, hey, this is what I'm doing. But aside from that, just come follow me, come be a part of it. And when it is time, I will give you, when the time is upon us, I will give you more information.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and follow you as well, and follow along. And, I'm excited to see how this journey you're embarking on, how it unravels. And I'm sure, it's going to turn out the way you expected. And
Thank you so much.
I'm sure it's going to be
My
even
pleasure
more
chatting
so.
with you.
Yep. Well, thank you so much, Daniella. And, we definitely got to get on doing another one of these because I really enjoyed our conversation.
Oh, I can't wait for the next one.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And you have a great day, okay?
Thank you. Same to you.
All right. Thank you.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.